restricts an abortion, even safety precautions that protect women from health risks like hemorrhaging, perforation of the uterus or bowel, sepsis, and even death. And this isn't just theory, it's written into the amendment, and this is exactly what happened in Michigan, where safety standards are already being eliminated after they passed a similar amendment less than 2 years ago. When parents read the amendment, they'll find that they are cut out of the process and won't have any say if their minor daughter is getting an abortion. Instead, she could order the abortion pill through the mail and take it without doctor or parental oversight, left to face hours of cramping and bleeding alone. And finally, when voters read the amendment, they'll see that there are in fact no limits, and that abortion would be allowed past viability and until birth for virtually any reason. 90% of Arizona voters support limits on abortion at 15 weeks or earlier. So the abortion amendment campaign doesn't want voters to know that Arizona law already allows abortion up to 15 weeks and beyond that for medical emergencies. They don't want voters to know that Arizona law already protects ectopic pregnancy care and miscarriage care, and they are in fact not abortion, a fact even AG Chris Mays affirmed last week. The deceit and the misinformation being sown by the abortion amendment campaign is outrageous and it's offensive. They know Arizona voters wouldn't support this amendment if they knew how far it goes. We as voters deserve to know the facts. We deserve the opportunity to make up our minds based on the truth, especially for a constitutional amendment that will be almost impossible to change. If this amendment qualifies for the ballot, the It Goes Too Far campaign will continue to educate voters until November, and we will defeat it. Thank you very much.
I'm Dawn Grove. I am speaking up today personally as an attorney and as a concerned citizen who has studied this abortion amendment and related law. And I know lots of good Arizonans signed this petition to put this ballot initiative on the ballot because they were told that this would simply put Roe v. Wade and restore it back into the Arizona Constitution, and that is not true. This misguided amendment goes far beyond Roe v. Wade. It is terrible for women and girls. It is harmful for our state, taking away parental rights and taking away Arizonans' rights, and it's deadly for unborn children through 9 months of pregnancy. So hear me out. Arizona law, as she just mentioned, is clear. It's settled that abortion is legal until 15 weeks and afterward for emergencies, for medical emergencies. And Arizona has common sense safety precautions to protect against the kinds of common complications that come from abortion, like the perforated uterus, the hemorrhaging, the infertility, and to protect young girls from sexual predators. But this abortion amendment would upend all of that just to make abortion available in the last trimester of pregnancy. It contains 3 clearly, craftily made legal massive loopholes for post-viability abortions. Number 1, and these 3 loopholes might not be obvious to voters when they're first reading it, but a court who has to apply this and enforce this will clearly understand and be obligated to follow this. Number 1, it takes out the doctor from the doctor-patient relationship. Literally, the abortion amendment says healthcare professionals, which under Arizona law is interpreted as chiropractors, dentists, veterinarians, nurses. It could be any number of healthcare professionals. And then it invests in that healthcare professional, whether or not they have any actual expertise in obstetrics, the decision about whether a late-term abortion is needed. This lets the profiting abortionist make that decision. And secondly, it subtly redefines viability into the 9th month of pregnancy. So Roe v. Wade defined viability as the interim period in which the fetus is potentially able to live outside the womb, albeit with artificial aid. But this amendment instead redefines viability as a significant likelihood, so not just potential, but significant likelihood of the fetus's sustained survival outside the womb without the application of extraordinary medical measures. In other words, without that artificial aid. Well, guess what? The undeniable reality is that babies born before 37 weeks, preterm babies, need extraordinary medical measures. And I can attest to this as a mother of 3 wonderful children, 2 of which were preemie babies, born in the 8th month. They needed oxygen, they needed to be in incubators and to be regulated, have their temperatures regulated. My son, who was born only 5 weeks early, had to be on a ventilator for many days to be able to breathe. This is what's required in preterm babies' birth. And third, it discards all Arizonans' compelling interests except permitting the one to survive after viability of not interfering with a person's decision to have an abortion. So it takes away all of Arizonans' compelling interests. And the exemption for late-term abortion is so broad. As we know from court decisions, it can include the woman's mental health, her financial health, her familial health, her stress and anxiety, any number of reasons that a profiting abortionist could point to and say we need a late-term abortion. So because of these 3 gaping, massive legal loopholes, the abortion amendment would make Arizona a destination for late-term abortions and require Arizonans to fund it. And to add insult to injury, this would allow a sexual predator to get away with continuing to abuse a young girl with no parental notification. As a licensed attorney, I am telling you, regardless of what the proponents of the amendment say, and regardless of what it appears, this is what the language does and how courts will likely have to interpret it. I urge all Arizonans, even if you were misled into signing for this to go on the ballot, to learn the truth. You deserve to know the facts, and when you learn it, vote no. It goes too far.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Melinda Martin. I'm a retired OBGYN, a board-certified OBGYN who retired after 30 years of practice in Arizona just last month.
Thank you.
I can tell you firsthand that you cannot take the medical doctor out of the abortion process without putting girls and women at serious risk. A physician is trained to detect and respond to emergencies that can occur with a pregnancy termination, including hemorrhaging, inadvertent perforated uterus, or injury to bowel or bladder, or other complications, including infections that can be life-threatening. Taking the abortion pills are still risky because they involve a process that interrupts the body's natural reaction to a pregnancy. The pills can take days or even weeks to work, and they do not always result in the complete expulsion of the gestational products. Without a physician's oversight to ensure the pregnancy is within the FDA guidelines for taking the abortion pills, the woman is at much higher risk for complications. If she had an ectopic pregnancy, that could easily be missed without a physical exam or ultrasound. If that were missed, the ectopic could rupture and she could have a life-threatening hemorrhage. Without a physician's close supervision, she could pass some but not all of the tissue and end up with subsequent hemorrhage, serious infection. Without a physician's oversight, she could become sensitized to the Rh factor if she were Rh negative, and she could have subsequent many problems with future pregnancies. This is not like taking an aspirin. 1 in 25 women who take the abortion pill end up in the emergency room with complications. Some girls and women want to keep the chemical abortion to themselves. They will be tempted to order the pills through the mail, take them without anyone knowing, and without a doctor overseeing their care. These girls and women can be alone and unlikely be able to get the help they need if they run into a problem. There can be significant pain and bleeding when passing the tissue, and if they're alone and trying to keep it a secret from everyone, not even having their physicians to consult, there could be profound consequences. This concerns me greatly. Knowing young women will be fooled into thinking that chemical abortions lack health risks and could end up in a life-threatening situation when all of this is unavoidable. Women deserve better care. By removing the required medical doctor from the abortion process and using the term treating healthcare professional, the amendment allows anyone with a license issued by almost any healthcare agency to legally perform abortions, dispense the abortion pill, or sign a woman up for a dangerous third trimester abortion when the fetus could survive outside the womb and when the women are at serious risks for future complications. We already have laws that allow a woman to terminate her pregnancy up to 15 weeks without question. After 15 weeks, in the case of a medical emergency or a life-threatening situation to the mother, she can still terminate her pregnancy, but under the care of a fully trained physician, not a treating healthcare professional. They need care from competent providers, fully trained to identify problems before they arise. They need to follow up on these women to make sure the termination was complete. Those providers need the training, expertise, and experience that can save a life when a complication arises. A delayed or inappropriate response could have grave consequences, both immediate and long-term. This amendment undermines the enactment and enforcement of common sense, protective regulation of abortion, regulations that were designed to protect the girls and women of all ages. It doesn't matter where you stand on abortion. These foolhardy aspects of the amendment put daughters, mothers, sisters, and wives in serious jeopardy. They deserve better.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Tussing, and I'm a registered nurse. I'm an MSN and RN and a registered sonographer. I'm the Director of Medical Services at Choices Pregnancy Centers. Just since November, our medical team at Choices has helped identify 9 ectopic pregnancies. 9. We provide women vital information that they need while making a decision about their pregnancy. For instance, is the embryo or fetus where it's supposed to be, in the uterus? We confirm that by ultrasound. A pregnancy outside of the uterus is an emergency and can be life-threatening to the woman. This is an ectopic pregnancy. Ectopic pregnancies are medical emergencies. And let me be clear, because I hear this disinformation all the time. Miscarriage and ectopic pregnancy care are all available now and will be in the future with or without this amendment. Arizona law specifically declares that miscarriage and ectopic pregnancy care are not abortions. But undetected ectopic pregnancies can be life-threatening. We once had a woman who was seeking an abortion because she had accepted a job in the South Pacific. She felt it wasn't the right time to have the baby, and she was scheduled to leave and go overseas the next week. She visited us to confirm her pregnancy, but ended up requiring emergency surgery for an ectopic pregnancy. If she had taken abortion pills, believing her pregnancy was resolved and the symptoms were normal, she could have been on a plane over the Pacific Ocean or in a foreign country when the ectopic pregnancy complications arose, putting her life at risk. She was incredibly grateful for the medical care that she received. Taking abortion pills without any medical care is dangerous, but would be legal under this amendment. What if any or all of those 9 women with ectopic pregnancies had not received an ultrasound in the medical care they received at Choices? What if they would have had a telehealth abortion where there is no confirmation of an intrauterine pregnancy? These 9 women would have taken abortion pills, to be clear, that do not end an ectopic pregnancy but only mask its symptoms. Abortion pills can cause pain and bleeding. Ectopic pregnancies can cause pain and bleeding. It's imperative that women know basic facts about their pregnancies before taking abortion pills. This amendment would remove these safety measures for women. Also, the process of a chemical abortion can be scary. Many women don't realize this. They are usually home alone, having to deal with the pain, etc., from their abortion. It can be a long and very traumatic experience. We've heard from many women who say they would never do it again. Teens especially are not equipped to handle this type of situation on their own. This amendment removes parental consent, leaving girls to go through this experience alone. What other kind of medical procedure are we allowed without basic medical care? Women deserve informed consent, just like in any other procedure. Would anyone have a knee surgery or a hernia repair without basic physical testing or imaging? This legislation goes too far. The women of Arizona deserve better.
We'll take some questions. Yeah.
What is technical? There was a mention, and I don't know, maybe the attorney is best positioned to answer this, that it would require taxpayers to fund these abortions. I'm not sure I saw that anywhere. I mean, there are a lot of rights built into the Arizona Constitution. Doesn't mean that I get the taxpayers to fund it.
That is an excellent question, and I am glad that you brought that up, because you might not see that when you first look at the amendment. The amendment basically bakes into the Arizona Constitution a fundamental right to abortion, and therefore government health care plans that don't lean toward that fundamental right, let's say they provide maternal services but they weren't providing abortion, now they would have to under that. And in Michigan, when a similar fundamental right to abortion was put into their constitution, now the ACLU is suing them and saying, you have to fund this. So that's how they do it.
Okay. The other question, this may be more of a policy question. I appreciate that the legislature, sometimes over the objections of some of the people in this group, did enact a 15-week law. If you leave it at 15 weeks, that frees the next legislature to decide 6 weeks, 3 weeks, 0 weeks. Why should we leave it to the legislature, which has proven itself to not necessarily be reflective of the people?
I think the better question is, we have to look at this amendment on its merits. It's something that's going into our Constitution, so we have to look at it and say, is this an amendment that is safe, that makes sense for Arizonans, given that it will be voter protected and it will be a constitutional amendment that's almost impossible to change. So that's what we're asking voters to look at. What are the merits of this amendment? Are you comfortable with the consequences of the medical doctor being removed from the equation, with safety standards being rolled back under it? That's what Arizona voters need to evaluate.
But are Arizona voters comfortable with letting, I've covered these people since 1982, and I've seen the good, the bad, and the truly stupid. Are Arizona voters comfortable with letting 90 people decide their abortion rights?
Well, Arizona voters are not being given the facts about this amendment, so they can't make the decision about what they're comfortable with until they have all the facts about what this amendment would do, if in fact they are voting on it in November. And we know that they're not being told this information by the abortion amendment campaign.
Are there any plans to challenge the petition signatures or the ability of this to get on the ballot, or is this more an information campaign once it's on the ballot?
We're focused on educating as many voters as possible through till November on exactly what this does. Howie, I also want to add to what Joanna said. It is never a good idea to enshrine bad law into our state constitution. That's right. And what we need to do is make sure that voters know exactly what they're voting on. And they are the ones that elect their representatives to vote on these issues as well. Enshrining bad law into the Arizona state constitution is not going to end the argument of abortion, because there are a lot of people that feel very differently as to where that limit is. So putting it in the Constitution is a bad idea for all the reasons we just explained here today, and also because it's not going to end the argument.
Another piece of the equation that sort of goes to what Wayne asked. I've seen figures that suggest that the Arizona Abortion Access may have $50 million. How much you have in the cushions of your couch, or how much you're planning on raising? I mean, you're going to need, as much as the merits of your argument aside, the good looks of everyone here aside, you need money to get your message out. So how much money you got, where are you going to get it?
Well, I would say the proponents of this amendment had $12 million to collect the signatures, the 820,000 signatures. But it's one thing to collect those signatures from people who are unaware of what is in the amendment than to have them learn about what's in the amendment and then vote on it. So those signatures do not translate into votes. Voters still have several months to learn about this amendment and to find out the details about it. They can look to Michigan and see exactly what we're saying now is happening there a year and a half after they passed a similar amendment.
But it takes money. It takes money to...
Yeah, and we're
Yes,
going
it
to
does.
raise the money needed to run a campaign. I can't tell you exactly how much we're going to raise, but we're going to raise the money that's needed to run a strong campaign We have a huge volunteer effort. We already have over 3,000 volunteers across the state in almost every single county. And so this is an effort that's just continuing to grow, and we will run a strong campaign to educate voters.
Let me just say, this is a vulnerability of Arizona. Outside states and outside interests know that if they can get something into our Arizona Constitution through a ballot amendment, then they can do whatever they want in Arizona. And so a lot of this money that was provided on the other side was provided by outside interests and not by grassroots Arizonans.
Do you have proof that it's outside money?
Check the reports.
Not hard to see.
Publicly filed reports. The reports show where the money comes
Reports don't
from.
show that, though.
Yes, they do.
They don't. You're wrong and you're lying to people.
Okay. Do you have another question?
Good morning. I wonder, forgive me for asking about a tweet, but I think I saw that there was a weekend of action planned that It Goes Too Far might be like handing out the message at parades. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, we have thousands of volunteers throughout the state that will spend the next several months educating voters on just exactly what is in this amendment so they can cast an educated vote. Voters deserve to know exactly what they're voting on so they can decide for themselves. So that is our goal for this weekend and up until November 5th.
Can we get some spellings? Joanna, what's your last name?
De La Cruz, DELACRUZ.
All lowercase or? De
No,
La.
De La Cruz.
Do you have any Spanish speakers?
Yes.
You do.
Mac De La Cruz, actually.
And the doctor?
Yes.
Full name, I'm sorry, Melinda
Melinda Martin.
Mayor.
MELINDA.
Yeah,
Martin, MARTIN, MD.
fair enough.
Fellow of the American College of Education.
Any other spellings or any other names or
No.
questions you need?
You gave us enough short, outrageous sound bites. Thank you.
¿Podría pasar y dar un mensaje en español de por qué están en contra de esta enmienda constitucional?
You want to speak on that?
Go ahead and step up.
Come on up.
Llevándole información a la comunidad acerca de esta enmienda, que es una enmienda radical, que mucha gente no está de acuerdo, especialmente en nuestra comunidad latina, no está de acuerdo con algo tan radical. Y nosotros lo que queremos es que la gente se informe, que sepa realmente lo que está en esta enmienda.
¿Pero qué es lo que no le convence de esta enmienda?
Bueno, es que es muy radical. Te voy a dar un ejemplo. Ahorita mucha gente ya no sabe que el aborto se permite hasta las 15 semanas del embarazo, que son casi 4 meses. Pero esta enmienda quiere alargar ese plazo hasta después del punto de viabilidad, que es cuando el bebé puede sobrevivir fuera del vientre de la madre. Eso lo podría extender hasta los 9 meses, que es algo radical. Y que cuando la gente se da cuenta de esto, no está de acuerdo con esta enmienda.
Escuchábamos a las abogadas decir que esto requeriría de fondos por parte de los contribuyentes. ¿Qué puede decir usted?
Exactamente.
¿Que las personas pagarían por esos abortos?
Exactamente, es algo que mucha gente no sabe, que esta enmienda lo que haría es que lo pondría en la Constitución del Estado como un derecho y de ende tendríamos todos nosotros, los residentes del Estado de Arizona, que aportar, que cubrir los gastos de estos abortos.
¿Qué están haciendo ahora ustedes con ese plan que sigue?
Bueno, ahorita lo que estamos haciendo es llevando información a la comunidad. El mensaje que nosotros tenemos es que se informen, por favor, acerca de lo que esta enmienda realmente significa para visitando la página vademasiadolejos.com. Ahí tenemos toda esta información. Vamos a estar nosotros trabajando con un movimiento que va a estar llevando esta información a todos los lugares, a todos los rincones de Arizona, y lo vamos a hacer de esa manera, llevando información a la comunidad.
Thank you.
able to get the flag in because we got to do like a tight shot, but we
Okay.
can get it afterwards.
Okay, great.